again, the market, you know, kind of dictates where people want to live. You know, people know where they want to be near and what they, you know, what kind of environment they want to live in. And we've typically grown to the northeast and to the east, and that's unfortunately some of the best farmland. So, you know, that being said, you know, we almost have to shift our decision-making process and our perspective and priorities, and maybe try to look for ways to push more growth to the west and south. And the comprehensive plan does address that very much so. I mean, when you look at over the last decade or so, you know, 70 plus, if not 80, 90% of our growth to the northeast has occurred. Comprehensive plan tries to balance that more and make it more, you know, east and west evenly divided as far as growth goes. And I think that's a good start.
Well, that's probably why city planners like to have plans.
Right. They've always got something to look back on.
When the Sustainable Janesville Committee was first formed, you said that you were the only person in the organization that volunteered to be on it. How has the situation changed since then? Is it, you know?
Yeah. When the Sustainable Janesville Committee was created in 2008, I don't necessarily think people didn't volunteer because they don't have an interest in it. I don't want to give that perception, because I don't think that is the case. And I can talk about that probably a little bit more later. But I think when it was created, it was such a new concept. So often our committees and commissions at the city, they have a regulatory foundation. Alcohol License and Advisory Committee. They have a set purpose.
There's a license.
You know, they're here to review that. Historic Commission is here to review historical issues. The Plan Commission has a regulatory
function
based on it's outlined by state statutes even. This was something new that the city really hasn't taken on at that level before. I mean, there's some smaller examples. Maybe the Leisure Services Advisory Committee could be a good example. But this was a pretty large-scale undertaking that we hadn't seen before. And I think a lot of people maybe kind of just thought, well, let's see how this plays out. Let's let somebody else be the guinea pig. Might as well lay it on the young guy. And you know, I guess I didn't think about it along those lines. So maybe I was naive. But it's changed in the fact that there's been a greater acceptance of that committee, and I would hope that the committee would say that as well. And I think people are starting to, especially with the new city manager, we're starting to institutionalize or systemically involve that group in the decision-making process more so than it was in the beginning. And I think that's a good move on both behalves. I think the committee is now starting to kind of come to grips as to what their role is in the organization, and they're starting to understand
and the organization
process.
Starts to understand what the role of the Sustainable Committee is
because
as well.
Because when you create something like that, you know, in essence, out of nothing, there's a lot of kind of, well, I don't know exactly here, and you get difference of opinions. There's people that want to dive right in, there's people who want to take a step back, and there's people that are territorial, you know, that say, hey, hold on, I've been doing this for 20 years, you know, who are you guys? And I think that's some of those walls have come down. There's been more interconnectivity, and it's become a better working relationship between just the staff and the committee, but also council and the community as well.
Right. Well, I hope so.
Yes, me too.
One of the initiatives that has been new in the last year or so, I guess, is the Green Team.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. That's I guess that's what when I said before, I can talk about it a little bit more later. That's another good example of how the organization is really kind of adopting this as part of their day-to-day operations. The new city manager Levitt, it's hard to call him new anymore. He's been here for quite a while now. But you know, early on, we had several conversations. Mr. Levitt and I had several conversations about the Sustainable Janesville Committee and things like that, and sustainability. And he's quite a proponent of the sustainable movement, and I think he has a track record of that in his previous positions. And one thing that we talked about was creating an internal green team. So when you make reference to the green team, it's an internal group of employees. And I think in about November of last year, the city manager kind of sent out a call for help from his division department heads to create this green team. And he kind of tapped me to lead that charge, or at least to organize that charge. I don't want to use the word lead because that doesn't seem fair to the rest of the group. But And we had an overwhelming response. 18 individuals throughout the organization volunteered for that committee, and this was people from entry-level folks, administrative assistant people, up to department heads volunteered to be part of that committee. And I was really surprised by the response and very happy with the response. And that group has now been together for 3 or 4 months, and we've really come together and created an excellent internal movement that I think will further those efforts on an organizational wide level as well as a community-wide level. And that interest has continued to grow. I said we started with 18. I think we're up to 22 people now, as they continue to hear about the work that we're doing, and what the goals of the group are.
Less than a committee, more of a working group.
Right. It really is. A lot of people, and that's a good point there. People. Division department heads are feeling more comfortable allowing people to kind of take on tasks that may not necessarily fit into their day-to-day operations. If you are if you're somebody who works in neighborhood services and you're a case manager for Section 8, what role do you have in the sustainability effort? Well, you have a lot. I think everybody in the organization does, and everybody in the community does. And that change of mindset that's kind of taken on over the last several months, several years, has kind of allowed that opening up for people to feel comfortable taking on those initiatives, and supervisors to say, go for it. I can see the value in this beyond just the simple day-to-day operations. And I think that's an excellent sign of progress for this effort. Not only for the Green Team and not only for the Sustainable Committee, but for the community of Janesville as a whole, because the benefits are there, and they are, and I think it's hard to argue against that. And it's not just monetary savings; there's a greater kind of inertia behind it, and monetary savings are what people look for at the end. But there's more to it, and I think it's hard to argue against that, and people are feeling that, and the Green Team's an excellent example of an excitement that this movement can bring, but also have a strong functionality within an organization that's typically not seen as that kind of organization, more of the black and white. But this is bigger, I think.
Al, probably the last question, but I was going to say I think I know the answer, but I'll ask you anyway.
Okay.
Are you excited being in Janesville?
Yeah, I've grown up in Janesville. I was born and raised here. And it's always been the community that I've called home. Even when I moved away, I came back, and I love the state of Wisconsin as a whole, and I think Janesville is a great microcosm of Wisconsin, and it's definitely I'm proud of the community and the things that we've done, and just what we've talked about today is just more reason for that excitement and enthusiasm. And I can't say enough about the opportunities that this community has afforded to me and the people that work here, work and live and play here. It's been great, and I look forward to more in the future.
Cool. Well, I should also mention that you do play in the community. You're
yes,
singer, guitar player for kind of a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I think that's another sign to branch off your previous question. It's another sign that this community still is moving forward and is a positive place to be with a variety of options for folks to live and work and play and realize that it is a good place to be.
Cool, Al. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yuri. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin. I hope you enjoyed this program. If you have any questions or concerns, please send email to discoverjanesville@gmail.com. Please make sure to check out the program on JATV and also at www.discoverjanesville.com. And huge thank you to Basics for being our host and supporter of today's episode. Take care.